Huh, I guess there was quit in New York after all. The New York Rangers, after the great regular season and great postseason and everything making them look like a team of destiny, proved that the only thing they were destined for was disappointment. Once again, the President's Trophy winner has been shot dead. At least this time, the Rangers made it here instead of going out in the first 2 rounds. But while it may be further than usual, the curse of the Skibbity Biden still continues. I wrote that in the script. I fucking typed that shit out. Now, fun fact, did you know that 4 of the past 5 Eastern Conference Finals have been between a team in Florida and a team in New York? Also, fun fact, the Florida team has won all 4 series. First, the Islanders got their bubble popped by the Lightning, and then they were brick-walled by Vasilevsky in Game 7 of their rematch, and then the Rangers took their turn with a blown 2-0 series lead, and now this year, the Rangers have been given the Bobrovsky President Special by the Florida Panthers. Oh, and there was 2015. The Rangers lost to the Lightning that year. That Rangers team also won the President's Trophy. So with an 0-5 split in the Eastern Conference Finals, I guess the age-old question of who would win in a fight between a Florida man and a man who's walking here is finally answered, and it's the one that fights alligators, which shouldn't be that much of a surprise, I guess. So, if any power scalers out there had New York over Florida, you're wrong. Now let's talk about the thing that got the Big Apple owned, the offense. The offense that was great in the regular season and continued being great in post-production got hit with the combined might of boobs, tits, and a ski. In the first round series against the Capitals, the Wranglers scored 15 goals. In the third round series against the Panthers, they scored 3 less despite this one being 2 games longer. A little under half of those goals were scored in just 1 game of the series, with the Rangers being held to less than 3 goals in all the other 5 games. They had a good few players that could get pucks in the net, and most of them just went kerpoof. They vanished. The 3 most notable vanishes are these guys. Mika Zibanejad was having a good time with 14 points in the previous 2 series. In this series, he only got to add 2 to that number. Chris Kreider had a great time in Game 6 against the Hurricanes, scoring a natural hat trick to break the hearts of Carolina. If you don't know what hats are, that's 3 goals, aka 3 times more than what Kreider scored against the Panthers. And no, their points weren't at least separate. Kreider's goal was a Zibanejad assist, and this goal was a Zibanejad and Kreider assist. Do you know Kasane Teto? You know, the girl in the Mesmerizer video? Well, canonically, she has a favorite food. Do you want to guess what it is? Here's a hint. It scored 1 goal and 3 assists against the Panthers. Oh my god, you got it right. It is bread. Wow, you're so smart. Artemi Panarin is supposed to be the bread man, and yet he wasn't breeding much in the series. Oh, and that 1 goal he did score? That was in Game 6, with less than 2 minutes left to play. So, a little late to the trigger there, buddy. Same thing with that goal assisted by Zibby and Cry. That was in Game 5 with less than a minute left to play. You'd be surprised to learn this, but 3 of a team's best scorers doing jack shit when it matters is not really a good thing. Like, Artemi Panarin scored 49 goals in the regular season, and you're telling me it took him 6 hours, 19 minutes, and 8 seconds for him to score 1 goal in this series? Look, you scored a goal in garbage time. Good for you, but question, Mr. Breadman, couldn't you have plopped another one of these somewhere in, I don't know, this general area? All of these players that usually score well suddenly not scoring well is naturally gonna reflect in the power play. The Rangers PP, which is one of the best in the league, did what any PP does when it gets cold and shrunk. And the Whittle PP shrunk to a small 1 for 15 against the big cat that go meow. That's not good for a power play that's usually good. Do you think it would have been better if maybe the Rangers had more shots? In the third period, the Rangers were outshot 66-45. That already doesn't sound too good, but in games 3-6, which are kind of more important because they're later in the series, they were outshot 52-25. Now, if we add the other 2 periods into the equation, we can see that Mr. Worldwide, Flo Rida, wait, isn't that a different guy? I'm sorry, I only listen to rock and metal, I don't know who's who in the other genres, had 202 shots, while New York only had 151. The only game of the series the Rangers outshot the Panthers in was Game 2, and in 4 of the other 5 games, the Rangers were outshot by at least 10. This includes getting outshot 111-80 in all 3 games in Gatorland. Man, the Panthers sure shot a lot more than the the Strangers. All this talk about New York's offenses, it makes it a little obvious Igor Shesterkin is the only reason this went to 6 games. While everyone else on the team was buying a Shadow Blade, Igor instead bought a Black King bar. Undisputed, unrefuted, he was the best player on the team this series, and maybe disputed, maybe refuted, he might have been just the best player in the series in general. He was amazeballs, having only given up more than 3 goals once in the entire postseason, which happened to be against Florida, and the Rangers won that game. Unfortuno tali, while Igor could keep pucks out of the net, he couldn't help the rest of the team put pucks in the net. I mean, who do you think he is, Sergei Bubtitsky? Oh yeah, surprise, the Panthers goaltender, Mr. Sergei, actually got himself an assist in this series. Oh, and do you want a hearty laugh at the Rangers' expense? Sergei Bobrovsky, again, I must reiterate, is the fucking goaltender for the Florida Panthers, got a point in this series before Chris Kreider and Mika Zibanejad. I'm not ribbing you. I'm not doing a hearty hard joke. You can go to the NHL website, click on the playoffs tab, click on the Rangers-Panthers series, and check all the Game Center things, and you'll see, oh my god, Sergei's assist came before any of Kreider or Zibanejad's points, which were all in Game 5 and only Game 5. So now that you know that, let us all take a moment to laugh at the Rangers for a bit. Ha ha ha. How funny of you, Rangers. Ha ha ha. You're so ha ha funny, ha. Lastly, I would like to focus your attention to 2 separate players that helped screw the team big time. The first of these 2 is Blake Wheeler, who did not play in the previous 2 series, and in fact only played in 1 game of this series. Blakey boy had been out of commission with a lower body injury since February, however would get to make his grand return in Game 4 against the Florida Panthers. At the time, the Rangers were leading the series after winning back-to-back overtime games, becoming the first team to beat the Panthers in a playoff overtime game since the other New York team did it back in 2016. 8 years without a playoff overtime loss, and the Rangers gave them 2 in a row, and as Game 4 goes into overtime, they are looking to make it 3. This is a huge overtime because if the Rangers win, they will have a 3-1 series stranglehold on the Panthers, and it will basically guarantee them a finals appearance because the Panthers have never come back from a 3-1 series deficit against a President's Trophy winning team before. Nope, don't remember them ever doing that. What could possibly go wrong? Enter Blake Wheeler. Having been granted the opportunity to skate on the ice for the first time in months, Wheeler celebrates this by hooking Barkov to give the Panthers an overtime power play. That's not exactly what you want your enemy to have in an overtime playoff game, but you know, statistically, only a quarter of power plays turn into goals, so you know, maybe this won't be a costly mistake. Welcome back, Blake Wheeler. After this, Blake Wheeler was not put on the ice for games 5 or 6. Whether this was because of the game-costing penalty or if he was just still hurt, I don't know. It's probably already been answered, but I'm too lazy to check. Silver surfing. He was in this game and this game only. He wasn't in the other 5 games, and thus, while he may have fucked up here, he didn't get the chance to stink up the rest of the series. Jacob Trouba was in all 6 games, however. Similarly to Wheeler, Trouba's main issue involves taking penalties. But unlike Wheeler, who was penalized for hooking, which can be seen as an oopsie-daisy, Trouba was penalized for attempted fucking murder. Every wrestler in the history of pro wrestling has what's known as a signature move or a finisher. Cody Rhodes has the Crossroads, Randy Orton has the RKO, Gunther has whatever kills you, and Jacob Trouba has the elbow. Not like the bionic elbow or like the elbow drop, like just the elbow. Whenever he saw fit, Trouba would take the opportunity to use his elbow to demonstrate to other players the power of a concussion. One notable example was not in this series, but in the previous one, where Trouba tried to do this to Martin Necas, but Necas ducked and Trouba instead went flying into the glass. I'm sure you've already seen this photo before. A notable example of him actually hitting his target was in this series, and it was this hit on Evan Rodriguez, which was only a 2-minute penalty because the refs are as competent as always. This is one of many examples of him trying to familiarize his funny bone with someone's cranium, but when he's not doing that, what's he doing? Well, he's doing this. When he's not in the penalty box for trying to experience the thrill of one more kill, he's out here doing a little puck chasing. Unfortunately for him, this chasey ended up being costly as it helped Sam Bennett score a goal in Game 6, which one goal ended up being the difference in that game as it helped the Panthers beat the Rangers 2-1, and they're going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and the Rangers Rangers or not. As an Astros fan, I hate that the Texas Rangers won the World Series last year, especially after what happened in the ALCS. Like, how the fuck did the Astros do the losing all of their home games thing again? But I at least have the consolation prize of being able to say that the Texas Rangers have won more championships in the last 30 years than the New York Rangers. So while the Texas Rangers getting their grimy hands all over the Commissioner's Trophy may fill me with disgust, I at least have state bragging rights over New York. So yep, that's about it. The Rangers got their Big Apple done chomped on by a big cat, and all I have left to say is Florida Panthers, please beat the Edmonton Oilers. I fucking beg of you!
Do you be hated for being who you are? Be a big target for all the insecure. There's a bullseye painted on our chest, and the guns and on the